It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, Brian, so we've talked about folks in their 20s and 30s starting out trying to get into a home. Let's kind of shift gears and let's talk about the folks in their 40s who have been in a home. They've actually gotten on team appreciating real estate, and now they're trying to figure out, well, what should I do? I bought this thing and now it's blown up in value. How should I approach this? How should I handle this? How should I think about this?
Yeah, this is one of those things, there's times I got the kids in bed. My wife says, I'm tired tonight. I'm going on to bed. And it just leaves me with my iPad. And then I turn on Zillow. and you get Zillow and you're like, whoa, man, look at that. We went up another 3% last month. Holy cow. I mean, it is a feel-good moment when you see how much your house is appreciated. And then that might as well be a lottery ticket because you start,
what could I do?
What can I do with all this home equity that I have? But then here's the reality of the situation. This is what takes all the sexiness of the situation out. You realize every other house in your area that you would probably, just because your house is appreciated, even if you sold, where the heck would you go?
That's exactly right.
There is no place to go because you might have to, if you sold your house, you paid $150 and now it's worth $300. You probably have to spend $500 to get the same house you sold at $300. So it makes sense that maybe I need another alternative. And that's where we know numbers of people love their house, but there's just some warts or some things, some features of it they don't like. They've now pivoted and they're doing home renovations.
Yeah, it's one of those things you think, okay, well, if I know I can't move. Now, I guess one of the caveats is if you are moving to a low cost of living area, I guess you could do that. If you're moving from a high cost of living area and your home is done well, you can sell that and move to a low cost. But most folks, especially folks in their 40s, aren't really thinking that. They're thinking about the upgrade and the change. How do I make my house more livable? How do I enjoy it more? And we've seen folks go through this. Well, I know I can sell it and make a mint, but to buy, I'm going to have to go buy something else at 30 or 40%. So I want to think about just making my current plot of land. How do I make it a little bit better?
Now, before we get into home renovations, you just said something. So do you think there's probably a small select group of people that have the opportunity that they're selling like in a market in, I don't know, I'm just going to say Nashville because we know Nashville.
Yeah.
And you think they can find another community to move in where it's actually cheaper?
Not in the same community. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, you're saying, but they can move across state lines.
Yeah, I think.
Man, you are winning the game. And truthfully, that's probably what's happening
I think
California to Nashville. They come to people in California, sell their houses. They come to Nashville. And in the Southeast, we are not cheap here. I mean, because I remember when I was shopping, I was like, man, with this much money, I'm going to be able to buy acreage. I'm going to line the whole driveway with live oaks. I can just see it right now. We're going to have live oaks. And then the reality is I got up here to Nashville and I realized, nope, you don't even get a half an acre, sir.
You get a postage stamp.
You get a postage stamp. But I think people from California, they sell their houses in California. They come here and they go, holy cow, they're giving away real estate for a nickel over there in Nashville. So I guess there are people. So if you are somebody in a community, I guess it is maybe the Californias. Sure. Maybe you aren't renovating because you're looking around the country and you say, you know what? I've always wanted to live here. I want the opportunity here. Maybe there is an arbitrage situation where you get to sell high and then go buy lower. But realize this only happens so long because what you're doing is you are driving up the price in these other parts. We're all going to equalize at some point, and that leads to the point of should you renovate your house?
That's exactly right. So when it comes to home renovations, how do you think about home renovations? How do you go about deciding should you do it? Well, here's the very first question we always think you should ask before you go into any home renovation. Realistically, how much money do you think you'll get out of this renovation once you do it? When you go to do this renovation, is this going to be a renovation that you are going to use and consume all the goodness in it? Or is this actually going to be something that increases the value of your house over the long term?
I'm sitting here and I'm kind of chuckling to myself because, look, things are upside down right now. I mean, without pandemics, I've always told everybody, if you put a swimming pool in your backyard, you're going to get 50 cents on the dollar for what you put into it. So be very careful. I think because of the pandemic, it's one of the only times in history that you might actually make more money on putting a swimming pool in your backyard. But that might be a short-term thing. I just want to make sure. So I do consider things like swimming pools. that's more of a personal decision more than an appreciating decision like redoing the kitchen or making the master closet or the master bathroom nicer. So I do think you have a very solid point there.
Yeah, the real thing you're asking is this an investment decision or is this a use decision? You just said that, like redoing the kitchen. I would argue that's an investment. There's a chance you're going to get out of that. If your idea of renovation is selling and getting rid of all your furniture and refurnishing your house, that's a use decision. When you're going to sell the house later, you're not going to get that money back out of it. So when you think about, should I do this or should I not do this, where's the best bang for the buck? Where I'm actually going to get some return on the capital that I'm deploying.
So we had Daniel do some research, and what did we find out?
Yeah, so we looked to see, okay, what are the top bang for your buck renovations? This is from the Family Handyman, and he listed out some. Number one, add a fresh coat of paint. Cool. It is amazing how much more valuable your house will look when you just do a paint. I'm in a new house, and I just went through the 1 year touch up, and I made friends with the painters, and they showed up. Instead of just touching up my walls, they actually re-rolled a bunch of my walls. It felt like a brand new house. And like I got little kids who live hard on a house. That one little very, very cost-effective, very cheap upgrade, renovation, made a world of difference. So a fresh coat of paint is a big bang for the buck. Upgrade your kitchen. This is one that you had kind of alluded to. I think the kitchen has become a place where we spend a lot of time. A lot of people kind of congregate there. It's sort of the central focus on the home. So often when you do spend money in the kitchen, you will get that return back. The third we said was upgrading your bathroom. I guess that's a big one. That's not one I would have guessed.
No, bathrooms are important. That's part of the human, physiology. We all use restrooms, so it's probably good to have really nice bathrooms.
Okay, got it. Love it. Number four was put in new flooring. Now, he wasn't specific on this. I'm guessing this is like new carpet or adding hardwood or that sort of thing, but essentially improving the place that gets all the traffic. And then number five, this one I did think was great.
Wait a minute. Put in new flooring. So if you walk into a house and it's got green shag, you don't think that's going to detract versus if they have brand new.
Hey, if green shag is your thing, green shag is your thing. I'm just saying.
This is where you tell I'm older, so I know how bad I can harvest gold. I mean, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. No, it's good to upgrade that stuff. Keep going.
And then the fifth bang for your buck is to finish the attic or basement, especially in this real estate market. I learned this firsthand when I sold my last house and we built the current house that we're in. If you can find a way to add square footage to your house, there's a very good chance that the cost of adding that square footage is less than the cost you could sell that square footage for. So if you have unfinished storage, unfinished basement, unfinished attic, and you can add rooms, add square footage, it's something you might want to investigate because that likely is an investment in the long-term value of your property.
That really is an arbitrage situation because you spend these dollars here and you actually get a multiple of them when you go to sell the house later. That's great bang for the buck on how you're spending the money. And that leads to kind of the next transition point of, should you pay cash? Should you borrow? How do you know when you're doing renovations or upgrades? How do you do this, Bo?
Now, I'll be honest. This one I was kind of amiss on, and you and I kind of went back and forth on this. And I'm going to give you credit for coming up with this because I had not thought about this. What you said is, look, if it's something that's long-term, that adds true value to the home, you had mentioned like a swimming pool or like a kitchen remodel or one of those sort of things, you may want to consider borrowing for that, right? If it's something that's going to have a long-term benefit, it's okay if you have to finance that and borrow money to do it. If it's something that's just going to be used, that's just going to be purely consumed, that you're going to, take over, perhaps you ought to wait to do that until you have enough cash to pay for it outright.
Well, I thought your examples earlier were perfect. If you're putting all new furniture or all new window treatments, you better be paying cash for that because that stuff is, superficial. It's not necessarily going to impact it. But if you're doing something like I had a neighbor, he put in now he works in the construction field, so it made it a lot more affordable, but he put in an outdoor garage with a living space up above. No brainer whatsoever that one was financed or could be financed. One that you said, now this is not ideal, but I understand it, like swimming pools.
Sure.
It's not uncommon here in Nashville now. Even this blows my mind because I grew up, my parents, I remember it was one of the greatest things when I was in high school. My dad came home and said, we're going to put a vinyl pool in.
I bet you did a backflip.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I had visions that all kind of great things were going to be happening at the house, but it fast forward. And now I think here in Nashville, it's like swimming pools. I don't know what it is, why swimming pools are so cheap in Texas, Florida, and Georgia, but in Tennessee, Swimming pools are expensive. So since they can get close to six figures, I know some of you guys are like, holy cow, people spend six figures on swimming pools. It might take you 3 years or so to pay it off. I put a unique rule on that because, look, swimming pools, if they go back to normal, 50 cents on the dollar. Right now, you get a premium on them. That's probably also why the charging is going up because we're using our houses more often because of the pandemic. But I just want to be cautionary on that, is that you need to pay that off rather quickly just because it's more of a use asset.
Just a word of caution, and I'm nervous about this because I love that. If you are going to do something like a swimming pool, a big addition, you really should try to get it paid off quickly. That's not something you should pay off over the next 30 years. I know in my neighborhood specifically, it seems like there are new pools going in every single day. So much so, I think there are like 4 or 5 different pool contractors around the area. It's like a 10-month wait right now.
Yeah.
Like if you want to get a swimming pool in, I am nervous that a lot of my neighbors have seen the equity in their homes go up and they're using creative financing to go do the swimming pool, and they're going to pay for it for the next 30 years. If I could just sit down and tell them, maybe that's not the best decision. So don't let yourself fall into that trap. Make sure you're making wise decisions. Just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should do it.
And that's a great segue into, because we just talked about renovations. What about guidelines for buying a new home? Maybe you've looked around and you say, yeah, I get it. Housing's gone up, but I'm at the point now we still need to upgrade to a better or nicer. Maybe I just got a growing family. We need more space. It's a little different on the second home, upgraded home, versus your initial home. Because remember, we gave you maximum flexibility on that first home purchase. We said if you only put down 3 to 5%, that's okay, because we're trying to get you on the home ownership, the home equity train. On your second upgraded home, you don't get that grace anymore.
Nope.
Now we want you to put down 20% as a must. Why, you might ask? The reason is we're trying to keep you honest.
That's right.
On making sure you're not letting just what happened with the housing prices are going up. You made $20,000, but yet you're willing to go, finance all of this big, and you run up and get a $300,000 or $400,000 nicer house. Yep. You might be getting your lifestyle bigger than what your wallet can afford. So we need to keep some ground rules there to keep you just conservative and honest, so you don't steal from your future self and your financial independence.
The second thing to think about when it comes to buying a new home in your 40s is what's your why? What's the reason that I'm doing this? And this is when you got to kind of do some self-reflection. Am I actually trying to just keep up with the Joneses? Am I trying to upgrade and build the bigger house or move into the nicer home simply because I can? Or are there things that allow me to do it? Allow our family to spend more time outside because we have a bigger yard, or it will be able to entertain more people and invite people into our home. Make sure that you understand your wants versus your needs. We need to have more space to do the things we care about doing versus I want everyone to see how successful I am, how well that I'm doing in life.
Yeah, I mean, the builder I have here in the Franklin, Nashville area, he's moved on to even nicer homes. And he reached out to me because we had a great building experience. And he let me know he was not only building, but he was developing this new community. And he tried to convince me to come over there. And I looked over there really long and hard. But then here's where it came to, and you said, know your why. Look, I make fun of that I live on a postage stamp. But here's the interesting thing about living on a postage stamp. You meet your neighbors. Yep. I actually love my neighbors. We have great neighbors. I hang out with my neighbors. I asked, because I know not only the owner of my builder, but all the superintendents. I asked them, I said, look, in this new neighborhood, because now you get acreage. You get 3 to 5 acres in this new neighborhood. I said, any of those people hang out with each other? He's like, no.
Oh, that doesn't sound fun.
So, that's why I want to tell you, knowing your why, because when I really started thinking about it, it didn't make sense to swim upstream anymore, because and that leads into the next problem is mow house, mow problems. And what do I mean by that is that, guys, the bigger, the nicer your house is. Let me go ahead and just lay out the basics. Higher utilities.
More square footage, it costs more to heat it and cool it.
Higher insurance, higher property taxes. But here's the parts that I don't think a lot of people think about. You got more rooms to fill. You've got to also, let me go ahead and tell you, the nicer your home is, service providers, I tell you, I think if they go through a gated entrance,
the price goes up immediately.
And they see, you live on acreage, You're like, ooh,
Cha-ching.
ooh, man, I bet these folks can pay something.
Yep.
So all of
absolutely.
a sudden, the same repair just went up 25%.
Yep.
So I'm just telling you, mo money, mo problems. And that also leads to a funny little word that we've done shows on in the past. What is that, Bo?
It's the Diderot effect. It's this idea that, okay, well, once I buy the new house, well, then I got to get the new swing set for the backyard. And then I got to get the furniture. And then I got to get the, and then I got to get the, and then I got to get the. It's this idea that just because you get the new house, you don't get to stop your consumption decisions there. Then you have the long tail of consumption decisions that go along with it. So just be aware when you are doing that upgrade, when you are moving up that ladder, there's a lot of things that are likely going to come along with it.
So kind of just to recap before we move on this, make sure you're staying within the 25%. Make sure you understand, your why. And then, just really, this is that measure twice, cut once type decision, because when you are upgrading, it can get expensive really quick.